So I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness this weekend, and it was pretty sloppy. By the way, spoilers, obviously. A lot of people are going to praise this movie for being different from the standard MCU, because it's a Sam Raimi movie, first more so than a Marvel movie. For one, the movie looks far better than most MCU movies. Also, it's far gorier than what we're used to, which I like. This movie didn't seem to rely too much on the typical Marvel humor, which I also appreciate. The action overall is pretty great, and since a good portion of the MCU movies have rather poor CGI, it was a refresher to see this movie with fairly good CGI. But that is pretty much all the praise I can give, because the character work in this movie I found to be incredibly sloppy. It's not awful by any means, but it's by no means good. Three characters in this movie have character arcs. There's Doctor Strange, Wanda aka the Scarlet Witch, and America Chavez. I want to talk about America Chavez first, because she probably has the most rushed character arc. She begins the movie and we just have to accept that there's a girl out there who can transport through the universes whenever she's scared. It's a Marvel movie, I try not to think too much about this kind of stuff. I actually really enjoyed this character. I thought the actress did a good job with what she was given. But let's be real, America Chavez isn't really a character in this movie. She's more of a MacGuffin. It's her power that Wanda is after, and she needs to be protected. Throughout the whole movie, she just talks about how she can't control her power and she only activates it when she's under duress. But in the climax of the movie, Doctor Strange is like, you could control it this whole time, it's just in your head, you need to trust in yourself. And then she overcomes that and learns how to control the power. There's nothing in this movie that suggests how she managed to overcome this other than just trusting herself. I find this trope to be kind of overdone, where the character just needs to trust in themselves and they will accomplish their goals. It's whatever with her. I like the character and I hope I see her in the future. But let's talk about Doctor Strange, the titular character in this movie. The movie begins with him at the wedding of his former love, Christine, a character that hasn't been seen or mentioned since the first Doctor Strange movie, which I haven't seen since it came out in theaters. So what, 6 years ago? I got excited at first because this guy starts to ask Doctor Strange questions, which I find to be really fascinating questions. This guy tells Doctor Strange that he was blipped too, and in that time he lost both his cats and his brother. He asks Doctor Strange if giving Thanos the Time Stone in Infinity War was the only way he could have won the fight. So I guess it's now common knowledge about what happened during Infinity War to the entire world. I'm fine with that. But Doctor Strange said he had no choice. I wish the MCU dove deeper into the effects the blip had on people outside of Endgame. Like, there's this moment in Spider-Man Far From Home where someone talks about how in the 5 years he was gone, his wife got married to someone else. And the movie kind of plays this as a joke, but I thought it was an excellent idea to explore. Doctor Strange made a decision, and that decision did ruin a lot of people's lives. But that is pretty much dropped, and the movie treats Strange's decision in Infinity War as something negative, which I disagree with. We learn that Strange is pretty much unhappy because he can't be with Christine, the girl he loves. She tells him that the reason she can't be with him is because he always feels like he needs to be in charge, and that he's uncomfortable when other people have to save the day, not him. This is the basis of the arc that he needs to go on, that he needs to learn to trust in others to save the day, not always himself. But this makes no sense because in Infinity War, he made a decision where he would die and the other Avengers would have to save the day in Endgame. And even in Endgame, Tony is the one who saves the day with his sacrifice, an action Doctor Strange encouraged. So this whole character flaw of Strange didn't make sense to me from the start, but whatever, I can accept it. America Chavez shows up and basically tells him that every version of Strange she's seen in all these universes has the same problem, where he needs to save the day. I feel like this was a poor way to incorporate the multiverse in this movie. Loki and Spider-Man No Way Home both did an excellent job at using the multiverse to their advantage. Granted, in Loki, I know it was different timelines, but the concept of meeting alternate versions of yourself still stands. Both Loki and Peter Parker meet different versions of themselves, and those versions of those characters help the main Loki and Peter grow. It's also established that the same person looks different in every universe, but here Doctor Strange and every Christine needs to look the same. Minor nitpick, but whatever. So throughout the movie, Doctor Strange is told how dangerous the alternate versions of himself are, even to the point where the Illuminati needed to execute him because they couldn't trust him. The whole middle portion of this movie is so cluttered. Like, we are shown John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and we got to see Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, and we got to see Captain Carter. And they didn't really do anything other than be used as obstacles for Wanda to kill. Anyway, throughout the movie, Doctor Strange tries to prove himself to everyone else, in which he does because because he allows America Chavez to be the one to save the day at the end of the movie. This mirrored the opening of the movie where a different Strange attempted to kill her so he could have her power. So yes, Doctor Strange does go on an arc here, but my biggest problem with this arc is that it's not earned. For one, while this flaw is shown to be a flaw in the alternate Doctor Stranges, it's never shown to be a flaw in our Doctor Strange. Not once does his need to save the day hurt our characters or the plot in any way. His arc is concluded in the complete opposite way of Peter's in No Way Home. Peter had a flaw that caused problems and the other Peter Parkers helped him overcome it. Here, Doctor Strange has a flaw, sees how that flaw has caused problems by other Doctor Stranges, and then he decides to change even though he himself never caused any problems with his flaw. This is not a compelling character arc to me. Also, the subplot about him being happy I find to be rather disappointing. Maybe this is just me, but I hate it when there's a character who's in love and the message of the story is to learn to let go and the characters don't end up together. I'm not saying it's a bad message. Of course people should learn to let go when a relationship doesn't work out, but I just don't like seeing it in a film. It's kind of depressing. Anyway, that's pretty much my biggest problem with the film. Doctor Strange's arc is rather uncompelling and doesn't make much sense to me, and they used the multiverse in a rather poor way. But let's move on to Wanda's story because I think she does have a compelling character arc, but there are also things I find to be pretty problematic. So her whole motivation in this movie is that if she can travel through alternate universes, then she can be with her fake kids again. Because even though her kids were created through her imagination in WandaVision, apparently every other Wanda in every other dimension is a single mother with these kids. Whatever, fine. One aspect of this motivation I find to be really annoying is her complete disregard for Vision. For one, the whole reason why she did what she did in WandaVision was so she could be with Vision, not their kids. Their kids were just a happy byproduct of Wanda being with Vision. So in this movie, the fact that she only cares about being with her kids and not Vision, I find to be an inconsistency in her character. She just doesn't seem to care about Vision anymore, which is fundamentally different from the story in WandaVision. Also, Vision is mentioned like one or twice in this whole movie. That was so annoying to me. But setting that aside, I do like how Wanda is motivated by something somewhat relatable. She just wants to be with her family, and that's a powerful motivation. I wished this was something they explored with Doctor Strange himself. Like if at some point Doctor Strange could have chosen to live in an alternate universe where he would have been with Christine, but he chose not to because he knows that's wrong, and that's what separates him from Wanda, the villain of this movie. But that's not explored. The climactic moment of the movie where Wanda's kids see her as a monster, I found to be the single best moment in the movie. Wanda realizes that her quest to be with her two sons is turning her into a monster and a person that her kids don't want to be with. Elizabeth Olsen's acting in this movie is fantastic, and she really delivers on the heavier moments of the film. She realizes what she was doing this entire movie was wrong, and she lets her kids and the other Wanda live peacefully. Now, the way they ramp up her story is where I have a major problem. She basically kills herself because she can't be with her kids. Yeah, she technically sacrificed herself to destroy the evil spell book or whatever, but there was nothing to suggest she had to die. And I'm assuming she's dead because the movie gave no indication that she could still be alive. So she basically killed herself. If she actually had kids and could no longer be with them, I would somewhat be okay with this, but not really. The major problem here is that her kids never existed. Wanda killed herself because she believed there was no purpose in living in a world where she can't be with her made-up kids. What kind of message do you think that sends to women out there who can't be or aren't mothers? To me, this is far worse than what Black Widow said in Age of Ultron about being a monster because she can't have kids. What bugged me the most is that after this movie, had Wanda stayed alive, there's nothing to suggest that she can't have kids. If she really wanted to, she could go to a sperm donor and have real kids that aren't a figment of her imagination. And if for whatever reason she can't have kids biologically, then adopt two boys and raise them yourself. I just find it so weird that she conducted this whole plan to kidnap a girl so she could manipulate the multiverse to be with her made-up kids, when instead she could have actually used this time to have her own kids. Also, didn't Wanda kind of overcome this in WandaVision? At the end of that series, she realized that it's not right to hurt other people to get what you want. But in this movie, the whole plot is about her wanting to hurt someone to get what she wants. And I feel that's the core problem with this movie. If you look at it as its own story, it's not as bad as I suggested. But considering this is a movie that relies on previously told stories, it's a problem when those previously told stories convey these characters in a different way. That is the major problem of this movie. Anyway, those are all the reasons why I found Doctor Strange in in the Multiverse of Madness to be sloppy. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to thank the Cloud Squad, and I will see you guys next time.